For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Orr here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of USC's Tuesday practice of their bye week. Now, this is actually USC's second of 3 practices this week. Helton made sure to clarify that this is the second practice. There was a Monday practice where they just went helmets and jerseys, but Helton said that they focus on fundamentals, and that's also what they focused on today. It was a full pads day, emphasis on tackling drills, fundamentals. How do you think this practice went, Dan?
It wasn't bad. I mean, I think it was kind of like the old days when you got the guys who don't get to play a lot, got to, kind of a developmental day. I mean, we saw how many guys with the bumps and bruises guys, an awful lot of starters, and then just resting guys all the way up until, including JT Daniels. So you got a lot of Matt Fink, a lot of Jack Sears, you got a lot of second and third groups that got to work, a lot of, scout team guys. That's kind of how they used to do it, I think, when they were in the running for national championships and things like that. They would sit those guys out, and I think it was probably a good decision to give JT yesterday off. And I think yesterday has not been considered a practice, and they don't treat it as a practice. We are not asked to come and cover it. The SID people don't consider it a practice. But I think Clay now realizes that maybe just 2 practices over 8 days after the Arizona game doesn't look so good.
Yep.
So I think he kind of indicated that they did more than they normally do on a Monday. Normally Monday's kind of just a walkthrough and meetings, and I think Monday was a lot more than that. So good for them. I mean, I think 3 practices in 8 days is still not overloading it. They're going to go after tomorrow's practice. Thursday is meeting day and Friday is academic day, and the coaches are probably going to go out and recruit by Friday. But I thought they tried to be fundamental. They worked on hands, they worked on a little tackling. I think they get a lot out of team run because they go kind of a combination of 1s and 2s against one another without the quarterbacks as much, but you get the running backs really hitting it up in there. They don't tackle, and they don't even do the real full thud where they just completely stop you. They get their hands on you. It's hard to tell how that's going when the backs are running really hard and you're not really stopping them, but you're pretty much putting your hands on them. But I think that works usually well every time they do it. So I like the way that looked. I think the running backs are running really hard.
Yeah.
But we saw that Saturday. In terms of the penalties, I just don't know what they're doing on the field has anything to do with the penalties. They said they took a lot of time yesterday, went over every single one of the 18 penalties. Video showed them what happened. As Ryan was laughing today and said they had so many penalties Saturday, they had to start categorizing them into different groups. And you had the fundamental technique penalties, the decision-making penalties, the administrative penalty. When you get to administrative penalties, you've lost me. And I'm just thinking, sitting in that classroom and being told you committed an administrative penalty, I'm just thinking, are you awake? Hello, is anybody there? I think you got to cure that out here, and we'll see how that goes. I mean, I know Clay. They said Clay showed us how much we're hurting ourselves. God, you just hope you didn't have to have your coach tell you how much you're hurting yourself when they're walking off 169 yards and penalties against you. I mean, you just can't. So we'll see. I don't know that what we saw today tells us how they're going to address the penalties. I just don't think we know.
It was an interesting response, though, from Helton. He went on for an extended period of time talking about how they specifically address each issue within all of the penalties. And he got a little nervous. It sounded like his demeanor changed a little bit. What was your read of Helton in that answer?
I think he really wants you to believe that they're going to figure it out and they're going to fix it. I think also T. Martin had a pretty good list of, Michael Pittman, where, they had a really good run called back because Stephen Carr, I guess, because Michael got his hands on when he was blocking, didn't exactly know where but it was a big effort play, and that they can accept that. They've got to be smarter and know where the ball carrier is and what that's going to look like. But I thought T had a good way of characterizing the ones that were just really dumb and it just can't be tolerated, and then the ones that were effort penalties, but again, you don't want them, but a kind of a different class. And how frustrating it was. He talked about, he said, we've had the 2 weeks in a row now, we've come out and maybe the other team commits a penalty. We've got 1st and 5. And by the end of that series, it's 3rd and 25 because they've gotten a penalty and then, a bad snap or, and another penalty. He said, we just can't do that. You can't go from your 1st and 5 and then your 3rd and 25. He said, it's got to stop. We can't tolerate that. But, so again, they're going to work on it, and we'll see.
Yeah, in regards to bad snaps, you and I both got to talk to Toa Lobendon about that, and he told me that it's a mix of both, mental issues and technical issues. He didn't really have an answer for it, though. He said it's hard to explain, but he was working on it. He got extra work at the end of practice. At one point, he even directly snapped to Clay Helton, who would coach him a little bit after each snap. What was your takeaway from talking to Toa?
I mean, I don't think he knows. I mean, I think he said, I started out no gloves. Then I changed to gloves. And I'm going back to no gloves. And he's got his right hand, each of the fingers taped a couple of different joints. And as you look at it afterwards, you realize they get kind of dirty during practice. And it looks like I would like to maybe retape those every series or something, because it just looks like it is the grip. I mean, there's no question his issue is the grip and kind of losing the grip. And then, he had a snap today that never left the ground. It just went, like a 12-foot putt, and can't do that. That's ball's got to leave the ground on those snaps, and you can't have the guy reaching down. You can't, and T talked about that too. Is that really does make that handoff very difficult to get the timing down if the quarterback's eyes are taken off his, if his he's got to reach for it, he's got to go way down low. That just can't happen. They keep saying that they're going to fix it, and Toa has done such a good job on every other part of his game, and I guess all the film is showing that he's just really getting out. He's athletic. He, he's got all kinds of, he does all kinds of good things when you pull him and you get him out in space. And but you can't have. T said, he said when you add the penalties and 3 or 4 bad snaps, he said that makes it really tough on the offense.
Yeah. You mentioned before the Trojans are a little banged up. Amon-Ra St. Brown has an AC shoulder sprain. We mentioned it before, but Helton clarified today that he's actually been dealing with that AC sprain for a couple weeks now. He said that they might go with a PRP injection for Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then Porter Gustin and Malik Dorton had those ankle issues. Cam Smith was out, and Amon-Ra, I already mentioned Amon-Ra. John Houston with a neck injury.
The good news there is it doesn't seem to be that serious. It's a stinger. Kind of an injury that causes stingers and what have you, but that's probably the best you could have hoped for there. So so that's a real plus.
Yeah. So a couple guys banged up, but that's what bye week is for in a way. As far as JT Daniels go, having 2 days off, he has worked his arm a lot. That's what a lot of the coaches have said. But how do you thread the needle between making sure he's rested, but also picking up things that he needs to learn in this bye week?
Well, I think. I don't disagree with what they're doing. I think that's probably not a bad idea. I don't think they know. He's been throwing all summer, throws all the time, threw a lot during camp, although if it were me, I would like to have seen him throw more. But and now you've had 5 straight weeks. I think it's probably a good time to do this, for him and let him come back. He's going to throw tomorrow. Not in team, but he's going to throw against air. And then I think that was a good idea. I think that was being proactive. That's getting ahead of things. And we were wondering, he was kind of running with a little bit of a, and I know you had heard that he had maybe a little calf injury, but he looked like he might have even a little. He wasn't running as smoothly as possible. So it could, help there as well. But I thought I liked that decision.
Just a little behind the curtain, we actually there's an IM soccer game going on right now. That's what the screen's for. But I think in all of our incidents that we've done here, we've never had a soccer ball come to our feet. So I just kicked it away. But any final thoughts from today's bye week practice?
No, I mean, I'm glad that they retroactively are looking at yesterday and saying we're more serious. This is not just going to be a normal Monday. We're more serious about it.
Yeah.
I like it that they went over all of the, all of the penalties. I think that the most important thing is connecting the going over it with the actual practicing of it, and I think that's been the issue. I don't think there's any question is how do you connect what you're doing in practice with the games, and I think that's the key. And we did hear Clay say that they're not going to let kids do things that are going to hurt the team. If you do them more than once, you're not going to be out there. I think that needed to be said. It wasn't exactly said after the game Saturday or Sunday on the conference call. I think you just have to say, hey, we like you, you're a good kid, but if you do something, an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty or one of those things, decision making where you could have made the right decision and you just, you hit the quarterback out of bounds. You just can't hit the quarterback. Go catch him and pick him, keep him up, do whatever, but don't hit him out of bounds. You know how they officiate games now, and you just can't be that whatever it is that allows you to do that. No, don't do that. Yeah. So, but the word is you will come out. For me, I know after the game, Clay said on the unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, he explained to him, he counseled them that you get another one, you're out of the game. And, this is me. I'm saying if you get an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, when you come over, I'm not saying you're going to be out if you get another one. I'm saying you're out now. We'll maybe put you back in a little bit, but we're not putting up with unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. That's just dumb. Don't do it. Don't even think about it. And at least one of those you saw coming, and you knew this kid's going to get one. And you want the people on the bench to be able to see that and head it off before it happens. But you don't counsel them at this point. You just say, I'm sorry, you're going to be sitting on the bench for a while.
Yep. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the Trojans' Tuesday practice of their bye week. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Orr. For more, check out uscfootball.com.